Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of What Authors Think. And we are in conversation with the author Sandhya Ranganathan. So Sandhya ji, how are you feeling that finally, usually you are the host in an interview, and this is the time where you are promoting your book in someone else's show. So how are you feeling? Which side do you like more?
It feels great actually, Shubham. So thank you so much for inviting me onto your channel. Sorry for the late start, but feels great. And I just got my physical author copy yesterday. So this is the first interview that I'm doing right after that. So feels very special. Thank you
That's
very
perfect.
much. And I like both sides actually because, of course, this is the first time I'm talking about my book, this particular book. So it's really nice to talk about it. But I also really enjoy talking to especially other authors, and and that's why I started my channel as well. So yes, I actually like both sides.
Yeah, I definitely believe that we are going to learn something from this interview today. To all the authors also who are in the comment section, they are also going to learn at least something from the experienced authors, Sandhya ji. Okay, so Sandhya ji, moving on. So how long was your journey, and how are you feeling that finally your book is out?
So it was too long, too long. Actually, I started. It took 15 years to write the book. Because
Okay,
yeah, because I have a full-time job. With my kid and home and everything. So it just writing in it's not I was just sitting and writing it. It was writing in fits and starts. And after getting the publishing contract, it still took another couple of years. You know how it is. It takes time. So
yes,
it was actually this has been a very long journey, and I've been waiting for this a long time. A few other books have happened along the way, but this has finally happened. So yeah, I think it took a long time. I don't recommend it. I think it's good for if people are able to focus a bit and get it out, because you lose continuity after a while, right? You go back and look at it,
obviously.
and it's like, okay, I need to update this now. Or I feel that, oh, this was really badly written, so let's just scrap this and start writing again. So it was, I went through whatever challenges, an author can face while writing a book. All of it. I faced that while writing this particular book. So I'm really, really glad that it's out finally. Yeah.
Perfect. But 15 years is, in fact, a long, long time, I believe. Most of the people will, by the end, they will skip it. Okay, let it be. Let's not do it.
Right.
But you had the patience. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So, Sandhya, just tell the title of your book and describe, brief about the book to the audience.
Yeah. So the book is called If Then Else. I can show. I just got this
Yeah,
the
please
cover.
show us.
So
I cannot
here's
see it,
the
but at
cover.
least the audience can see it.
Right. So it's If Then Else. So those who are software programmers know it's actually a programming language construct. So it's like if you do this, then this will happen. Else this will happen. Right. So that is the title of the book, and the idea is the choices we make in life. So if you select this, doing engineering, then this is your career and this will happen to you in life. Or else you do something else, then this else will happen, right? So it's about the choices you make in life and what are the consequences, how does it play out in life. So that's the title and that's the meaning of the title. Yeah.
Perfect. So, for the audience, Sandhya ji is already a best-selling author of two books, among which one is a children book. So, Sandhya ji, from here comes the next question: that how from a children book you move to an all grown-up book dealing with the difficulties of life.
Yeah. So as I said, this book actually I started a long time ago. So this has been happening for me through life. It seems like, it's just been going on in the background. It is a bit of a little more challenging book to write. It is, for some reason, I chose this complex plot, so it became a little difficult to write. But I've always wanted to be an author. So when my daughter was little, her name is Tarana, and I have cats. I had two cats before she was born. One was Mia and Tuk Tuk. And so it was a bedtime story for her, how Mia came home, right? I used to show her the
Yeah.
pictures, tell her the story. And then I had a visual designer in my office, Piali Barua. She is fantastic, very talented from, NID. And she said, oh, I always wanted to illustrate a children's book. So I was like, okay. So it just became like a little project and she illustrated it. And those days, I think Amazon Kindle was just came into India. And we were just like, let's find out what's happening. Let's just try it out. And suddenly we realized that in half an hour we were published. So it was just a little story as to tell her. Then it kind of got published. And and it's it's still one of her favorite stories, and that's how I started writing that. I would have loved to write a lot more, but it's a fairly involved process, on the illustrations especially. Writing it is easy, but the illustrations are more challenging. So yeah, that just happened along the way, and of course, after that, my father's book, I co-authored my father's book, Burma to Bangalore, and that's his journey. It's actually, he's the author of his life. He was born in Burma, and how we reached Bangalore. We live in Bangalore now. So that was his story, and so I just co-authored that and tried to write it in a more creative way so that it's interesting for all generations of the family to read. So that happened in between. But all along, this book kept happening in the background. So it was. So this was just, and this is finally it has reached completion. So along the way, I mean, I've started several other books too. So now that this is out, I hopefully have more books out after this. But yeah, that's how this book came about.
So this is the first book you have started writing. Then in between you finished writing two books which got published,
Right.
which got the bestseller, and now this is the book which is also ranking in the top rankings on Amazon, right?
Yeah, actually, yes. That was actually fantastic. Like, so it's been on pre-order for like 2 weeks, and the first day it hit like number one and hot new releases in its category. And for the entire 2 weeks, it's been in the top 10. I've been taking screenshots every day, 3, 5, 10. So this is great, even better than I expected. So I guess maybe it's a little thank you for all the patience and persistence. So thank you, universe, for this. But it's been doing well so far. Yeah.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing. So all the audience who are there, Sandhya ji's book, If Then Else, is available on Amazon, and it is ranking in the top rankings, as she said, from the very first day. So if you are looking forward to read something interesting, you can go and grab the copy now. And then moving on. So Sandhya ji, like the story has a lead character called Karthik, If
Yes.
Then Else. So
Yeah.
which is a male. So how difficult it is as a female author to portray a male character?
Yeah. So since it's the first book that I wrote, the tendency of authors is that it's easy to write from your own experience, and then but then it becomes a little bit more autobiographical, if you will. But I wanted this to be a pure fiction, so which is the reason I chose a male character. So it's not, he doesn't have any of my thoughts, feelings, or whatever it is. But of course, we deal with men and women in our lives, right? They're all around us, at work, at home. I was always interested in psychology, studying people. That's why I'm interested in what makes people tick, whether it's at work or whether writing the characters of the book. So I think I just drew on my experiences, and then it is a little bit more challenging because you have to really think from a different perspective, which is not your own. Like, for example, the book starts with he's getting laid off from work. And actually, I got laid off from work, and that's when I started writing this book. But his reactions are different from my reactions, right? So, what I had to think, like, okay, if I was him, and his situation in life, what would that character think? So it was really trying to put myself in that character. It was a whole, I really enjoyed the process, though it was long. I tried to learn about writing, put myself in the character's shoes, really kind of correct all my writing nuances along the way. So it was a little bit more challenging, but it was also, I think, interesting and a learning experience for me.
That's really interesting. And your answer was even more interesting, that someone, a new author can get inspired how to write a fiction with a proper details perspective, finding the inspiration from the other people, from the
Yeah.
surrounding.
Yeah.
So Sandhya, like I have seen your YouTube interviews, and you have a beautiful garden that I have seen. So for you as an author, how difficult, like how the surrounding matters to you as an author when it comes to writing?
Yeah, and I think, as you know, and Shubham, for the viewers, the Shubham has also written a fantastic book which I'm waiting to receive and read. So please pick up that copy as well. But as you know, and for each person, it's kind of different. But still, writing a novel, you have to really get into the mood a bit. Unlike, let's say, a poem or a short story, which you can finish in a shorter span of time. So I think a little quieter surroundings. But sometimes if you're in the same surrounding, even if how beautiful it is, you kind of get stuck. So this is my studio. You can see, I have, or you can't see, but hopefully when you see the recording, you can see it. I have books all around me. I have my garden. Um, so I like to sit when there's a, usually I get time only like when my daughter was small, late at night after she's gone to sleep. So I'm in bed, but it's quiet, right? And I'm able to write then. I've also taken writing holidays and writing breaks because I found it impossible to write while I was working sometimes, right? Because you have night meetings and then you're so tired. So even if you have time, you don't really have, you're not in the mood to start writing. So before my daughter, I used to take actually writing holidays, just go away to like Uti, the hill station. And it's a place I've been to very often, so I'm not tempted to sightsee or anything. So I'm happy to just sit in one room and just sit and write and, just watch one tree outside the window. And so I've done a couple of times like this and try to, push forward the story. So I think, yes, surroundings are important. And I think you find what works best for you and also vary it from time to time. So if you get stuck or a block, sometimes just a change of surrounding actually helps you, move ahead. Yeah.
Very true, very true. So everyone is commenting that Sandhya's background is so nice, and I'm the only unfortunate who is the host of the interview but cannot see the background. For the first 2 seconds, I was able to. Then again, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But anyways, so moving on, Sandhya ji, like you're working in a higher designation in an MNC. So how do you balance this? Like apart from parenting, you're also working at a higher designation. So how do you balance the job and writing process?
Yeah, it is a challenge, and which is why it took 15 years. It was not easy. But as you know, it's a passion, right? So you find the time for it. So however tired you are, especially if it's like suddenly you're like, okay, this particular scene comes to your head. It doesn't matter if you're late, you just sit and write. So I think it's just out of pure interest that, that kept going. Work-life balance in general, I think taking as much, I think asking for support and taking as much support as you can. I'm blessed that my parents are also live with me, and they are very supportive of my writing journey. Whatever help, I think all the ones, the cook, the whoever, if all the people around me, they have. I think I try to get help I can, whatever help I can. So I don't hesitate. It's like, this is what I want to do. I want the time for this, and just ask for it. So I think asking for help and getting that help or support is also important for this journey. Yeah.
That's perfect. So for the audience, if you're having any questions related to the book or related to the author, then you can please you can comment in the comment section, and Sandhya ji is here to answer all your questions. So Sandhya ji, like we discussed about your family, how they were supportive. So who are the first people you approach when you write something to read the first draft and to get the feedback about?
Right. So actually, it has been my sister Priya, my younger sister, and I've always shared the first few chapters, even about the characters when I'm forming them. I ran it by her, so and she has been probably the one who's kind of read it end to end. So my sister, and also I have a couple of friends. So initially, when I started writing, I read the first few chapters out to them. So Jean and Apu, and so they gave me some feedback as well. But after that, just because it took so long, I think people got tired of waiting for my book to come out, and I also hesitated to ask them, right? So I wouldn't go back to them. But towards the end, I think I was really grateful that I got a full review from Kalyan Durgadas sir, who is also a best-selling author of his book Songs of the Kaveri, which has got a fiction award. And I met him in Anita Nair's, mentoring class that I was part of. And he very kindly went through the whole thing and, critiqued it, which was very important. To actually getting from family and friends is good, but, you don't always get just the, they'll obviously try to, please you, right? So I think I got some very good critique from him. Another author also called Anu Anaya, and we've critiqued each other's books. So she actually did almost like a line by line edit and gave me feedback. So I think these are the people, who actually went through the book, gave me feedback, and it's definitely all the much better for it.
So from here, a question is coming in my mind that being an author, like when you know that your story is really interesting and different, so at any point are you not afraid that someone gonna steal your story and write something to it? Is it a
Okay, that's an
fear
interesting.
in the back of the mind?
That's an interesting question. I think as for me, I write just for the pure joy of writing and for my stories, so I'm just absorbed in that. I think everybody see whatever that's what they say, right? Whatever you have thought or you write, somebody has already thought about it and written about it. There's only so much, but it's your unique voice and your unique way of writing and your perspective that you bring to it. And but yeah, because it took so long, I mean, that's probably a challenge. And but I have written it in a very different way. I haven't yet given you a brief about the book, so let me just give you a little brief. So I think we spoke about Karthik, who's the character. But we also, and we said that he started with he's laid off, and then he has to think, what is he going to do in life? Should he just try to find another job? And since he's a software engineer, should he try to go after the US? Or should he just give it all up and go after his passion? And I actually follow his journey through three parallel lives in the book. So it's the book actually uses the concept of parallel worlds or the multiverse, and you kind of see Karthik on three journeys, and you see at the end of it, he's followed this path, and this is how he's ended up, and how it impacts everybody around him. So it was so difficult for me to write. I think it would be challenging for others to write as well. So yeah, maybe that's why it is I think a very unique sort of concept, and that there is science fiction, but this one is actually just mainstream commercial fiction, and I've just used the concept of parallel worlds here. Yeah.
Beautiful. So there is a question from the audience that do you see from Nityaji that do you see an overlap or any effect of your profession or your writing life or vice versa?
So I'm actually in technical writing. I'm a technical writer by profession, technical communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've actually tried to use, so it has helped and hindered me. So how it has helped me is I've tried to use, whatever you do in technical writing is writing the table of contents, structuring the content, creating a schedule, and and that's how, I had to be really persistent to try and stick to it for like 15 years. So I've used all of those techniques from tech writing, and also to write simply. It's not about writing, big words or something, but it is about trying to get the message across to people, which is what you do as a tech writer. So I try to use that in creative writing. Of course, the block is in creative writing, you're just free, right? So tech writing is very structured, and it's so I think in creative writing it's a lot more freeing. So I had to kind of get back into that space. As I said, originally a literature student, so I think that was my natural inclination. So yeah, I think whatever you do in life, you can use good parts of it to help you with whatever else you want to do.
Perfect. So as everyone now in the audience is knowing that you are a bestseller of 2 books, and now this is a third book, I believe and I hope that which is going in the same way. So Sandhya ji, can you would you like to give some tips to the new authors who are coming in with the first debut novel or debut book?
Yeah. I think I have to write a book on how I wrote this book. Tips. As I said, I faced all the challenges. So I think one thing which I would say is when you start writing, just don't go back and edit every sentence or even every chapter. That's the tendency initially, right? To make it really perfect and then go on to the next chapter. But then sometimes I found that I was in an eternal loop in one chapter because I'm going on trying to perfect it. So stop with that. Just don't try and edit while you write. Just write, reach the end of the story, and then after that you can go back and edit or ask someone else to edit if you want to or you're tired of the story. So yeah, just keep writing till you reach the end of the story. That's one thing I would say. And the other thing I would say is just I think it's good to have some structure. I think plot it out, even if it's one of those books which is little more free flowing. That's also okay. But the more you can plot it a little bit, it's easier to actually get to it and complete the whole story. So yeah, some tips from my side.
That's really helpful for the new authors and specifically to me also. Although which I also followed it, I first write the story, then go to the editing part, and by the time I go to the editing part, I started feeling let's not do it.
Yes.
Let's keep it for the next day.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, Sandhya now this part is one of the most favorite part of this whole episode for me, which is not related to your book, but the general understanding of the author. So as you are working at a good designation in an MNC, as I said before, so what do you think that the policy makers of the company are really aware of the ground realities, or they are not?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Yeah. So I work in a IT company. So an IT company, it's a little different from other companies because it's less of hierarchy, right, which you find in your traditional companies. So I think the less levels there are, layers between, let's say, leadership and, as you say, the grassroots folks, I think it's easier for people to understand what's happening. So that's one thing, less of hierarchy. And second is also communications, the amount of open communications that we can have. So it's not just one way, just coming top down and that's it. If that's the case, then they'll really won't understand what's happening at the grassroots level. But in IT companies, there's lots of skip level meetings with your boss's boss. You have these company surveys they send out to you where you can anonymously give feedback. On things which you like, what's not working, all of that. You can there are, you can talk to HR. So there are so many channels of communication. And if I think the managers themselves also don't, have that in their head that, okay, this is my role or this is my title, but it's just, this is a role I'm doing and I'm here to help the others. I think they need to keep that viewpoint and then they can understand what's happening with everybody. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's how it
Interesting answer, although. Okay. So now we'll move to a very interesting game, which it is a small game where I'll ask you a sentence or a word, then you have to answer whatever comes to your mind in the first 10 seconds, and then you can elaborate a little bit for the audience. Okay.
Okay.
So shall we start? Are you excited for this?
I'm excited. Yes, this is something new. So
Okay. Before that, we got a question. Okay. So have you co-workers, peers, seniors read your book? Do they talk about it at work? Is it a positive or not so positive experience? This is an interesting question.
yeah. So maybe I should come back to it after a few months because, as I said, it's just been on pre-order, and I know so many of them are pre-ordered, but they haven't received the book yet. So I think so there has been excitement. Not everybody, but I think some people have bought it, and I think once they read it, then I'll hear their feedback. But as of now, I don't think anyone's got the physical book yet. So I'll have to wait for their reaction and feedback after a little while. Yeah.
So I have a question from this question and this answer, that somewhere the excitement of the people connected to you related to your book, which is yet to be in their hands, makes you nervous.
No, not really. It's like I think maybe just because this particular book it took so long, I'm just so relieved that it's done and it's out the door. I'm just happy it's out, right? I'm happy they have it. How they take it, that depends on them. I was, it was a great experience for me writing it, and it was a very intense and personal journey for me. After that rest, I can't really control how people think about it.
Right.
However it goes, it's fine. I hope they like it. If they have good critical feedback, I'm open to that too. Again, as a tech writer, I guess I'm used to that. Getting receiving feedback and incorporating that, and I hope I use that feedback and make future books better for them to read.
Perfect. So let's get back to the game. So let me summarize it again for the audience also. So I'll either give a sentence or two words to choose between. Then you can take 10 seconds. You can answer what you feel like from the two or from the sentence what you get. And then you can elaborate a little bit, right? Why? Because then you have to answer the reason, right? So the first question is, Sandhya as a writer or Sandhya as a 9 to 5 employee?
Oh, as a writer. 100% or 1000%, and I don't think that requires an explanation, but yes.
Perfect. And the second one is mountains or personal garden.
Oh, that's interesting because I do like mountains, but a personal garden is right here outside, in fact, behind me. So I think I'll go with personal garden.
Okay. And when it comes to story, what is your favorite story? I'm not asking the author, I'm asking about the story and why.
Oh, okay. So I actually like humor. So I like comedy, satire. I like that because, yeah, I like to laugh. And particularly satire because it's a little bit more involved. You need to understand the context and what they're making a satire about. So I enjoy that particular genre and those kind of stories.
Okay. And if you have to spend your whole life, so then what you will choose, big cities or small towns?
Interesting. Um, Actually, my father was in the army, so I've grown up, in every 2 years we'd move to another place. So I've been to many places in India, and since I like to travel, I've traveled quite a lot as well. Frankly, I think I'm comfortable being in big cities. I think if I go to any big city in India or the world, I'm comfortable. I know how to figure out my way. I think small towns are very charming, but to live, I think it would be a big city for me. Yeah.
And what big city, if you have to answer in India, which you like to spend the life?
See, Bangalore is home for me, so I think I would say Bangalore, even though it's kind of changed so dramatically and it's so different from, what I think of as my home city. Anybody who knows about Bangalore knows that the traffic is horrible. So, and it's gone, it used to be a pensioner's paradise. Used to visit my grandparents in summer holidays, and there used to be the gulmohars blooming, and, it was a garden city, really. So I think I still have that in my eyes, but I think home is where the heart is. My family is here, so for me, it's Bangalore.
Yeah, okay. So the last question, which is also my favorite, and I want you to answer at least something. You cannot say there is nothing like that, right?
Okay.
What is the part of your garden that you don't like or that you
Mm.
hate?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Huh. Um, let's see. I think the first thing that came to my mind is so I have in front of my house, I have two little patches, and one gets a lot of sun and one doesn't get too much sun. And I've got
Okay.
like just this grass on both. But the one which gets sun, the grass has grown nicely and it's this nice little lawn. And the other side, it hasn't grown so much. So I've put something called elephant grass, which is so it is green, but it's not as nice. You can't sit down on it, and it's not so comfortable. So I guess I
Okay.
would say this part, the part where the lawn hasn't grown so fluffy and I can't sit over there.